other than my better half, the much smarter, much better looking, Jessi.
Hello.
Jessi, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Now, we are not religious people, which means, by default, I guess we celebrate Christmas.
Yeah.
So you came up with this idea to share our 3 favorite Christmas presents.
Yeah, from growing up. And we kind of come from that same timeline. We spent most of our childhood in the 80s into the 90s. And so I think there's a chance we could have some overlap. I don't actually know what you're bringing to the table tonight, but kind of all in that same era appropriate for the most part.
Right. Now, if you're watching this video, please comment below some of your favorite Christmas or holiday gifts. Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate. We support it. We're inclusive here at Shiny Plastic People. And of course, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't. But Jessi, let's kick it off. I'm going to let you go first, if I got my order right. So let's hit the right button. It's somewhere there. It is.
Yeah, so I think probably 84, maybe 85, maybe been out for a while. My sister, who's 2 years younger than me, and I received a joint present, which if you know, as a child, you hate getting a present you have to share with your sibling, but it didn't matter. This was epic for us. We received the NES. So we received the basic package. It was, as we see here on the screen, came with Super Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt, 2 controller paddles, and the sweet gun before they turned it orange.
So you had the gray.
Yeah, gray gun. And so we were with my dad's family that year for Christmas, which means we opened our presents on Christmas Eve.
Nice.
And let me tell you, as an elementary age kid who opens a Nintendo on Christmas Eve, that leaves what feels like unlimited time to get to know the system. And so as soon as we were done, the adults, drank their Tom and Jerry's and carried on having fun while we all ran upstairs, plugged this bad boy into probably a 12-inch TV, 13-inch, I would assume it was, a little tiny TV. And my cousins and my sister and I stayed up probably till 1 or 2 in the morning trying to figure out Super Mario Brothers. And the next day, that's what we did all day too. And that carried over really until I don't think I got a Super Nintendo until I was out of the house at age 18. But this brought hours and hours, days really, of entertainment to us. And again, like I said, it was something that I shared with my sibling, which was not really something that we were cool about, except that this Nintendo, almost every game we had was 2-player, so we could swap back and forth and share this with minimal problems. I mean, there were some nunchuck style fights with those paddles now and then, but who didn't have that in the 80s, right?
Right. Well, I'll jump to my first, which I'm not sure if I'd even really say this is a favorite, which is already breaking things off. But I was spoiled rotten by my parents, and I admit, so I have a hard time remembering what I got specifically for Christmas. So this is a present I actually remember getting. And of course, that's the Power Dome playset for the Power Rangers.
Wow.
The thing is one, this surprised the heck out of me because I didn't know it existed prior to opening it. And I was at a cousin's house, visiting family. So I think they're all like, aren't you a little old to be playing with toys?
Joke's on them. You're never too old.
Never too old. 40 now, and I still haven't figured out how to stop. But it was cool. This was probably the last playset I got.
Okay.
As a kid. But it had some fun features. It had a voice changer, so you could be Zordon, telling the Rangers what to do. And it had a teleporter, as you can see on the box, that worked with the flip head action figures. So as they'd slide up, you'd have your unmorphed head, and as they came out the top, it would flip the head around, so it was the Power Ranger head.
Oh,
so it was
okay.
like they morphed through teleportation.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
You said you didn't know that this existed until you received it.
Yes.
Is it better to receive a complete surprise gift like that, or have months of anticipation, telling your parents what you want, circling it in the catalogs, and then having that satisfaction of getting it on Christmas?
I was probably the worst kid to buy presents for, because I was very specific all the time with, I want this, and I want this exact version of it. So for this to be a complete surprise was actually probably a really good thing. The downside was, I'm not sure I was into the property when I got it.
Okay.
But it was still very cool. And I think it was the only way you could get the Alpha 5 action figure was with this playset. So if you really wanted that full Power Ranger experience, you needed the Power Dome.
Those bundled toys getting us early on.
You had to. It's just the way it worked. But I'm going to go ahead and pass it back to you.
Back to me. All right. So end of elementary school, for me, these scooters hit hard, and my sister and I got them for Christmas. I can kind of remember hearing the adults, I guess, welcoming Santa in to assemble this while I was asleep at night. And I hadn't asked for a scooter like this. I think I'd probably made comments and seen one, but it wasn't something I was expecting or anticipating or hoping for. But when we walked out to the living room in the morning and there were 2 scooters like this parked in front of the tree, I was overjoyed. I loved riding my bike, and this was kind of a new experience to try out. And mine was teal. I'm trying to remember. I think my sister's was purple. But we were super excited. Unfortunately, there had been, of course, it's December in this cold square state, so we couldn't really get any practice on them right away. However, a week later when we went back to school, super cold day, but there was no snow and ice on the ground. So here we are bundled up, scooting up the hill to school and then back home again, at least to get that first real ride on them. Only 2 things locked up on the bike racks that day. And once we rode down the hill in the cold, we brought them inside and kept them in until the spring, and then rode the heck out of them.
So kind of a funny thing about this style of scooter is I was probably like 18, 19, hanging out with friends, partying in a way a nerd does. There's no alcohol. It's just
Code Red Mountain Dew.
Mountain Dew, Code Red, and Nintendo. And I do mean NES when I say Nintendo.
Good. Very
good. And we
good.
went down to the gas station, and somebody had one of these among us. So we joked we were going to start a scooter gang.
Nice.
And we were going to be scooterer.
Oh.
Because we were scootererists.
Yes. Yes.
So we all went out and bought scooters like this with the inflatable wheels and the brake and stuff, and just really became self-parodies.
I love that, though.
So I see this scooter, and even I have a connection to this, even though mine was much later in life.
Let me tell you how much I loved this. White tires, who knew of a thing until I got this?
Right.
So even though they were the little tiny scooter tires, the white tires I thought were super cool. And while I think this is pretty close, this ad we found, pretty close to the model that I had, my handlebars were full white. Again, something I had never really had or experienced before was white painted handlebars. And this is how much I loved it. As I would get little scuffs and chips in the paint, I would use white out to fill them in, so it stayed mint.
Right. Well, absolutely. You gotta keep it cherry.
Oh yeah.
That's your ride.
Of course.
Now, speaking of rides, my next one is the Batmobile bicycle.
Amazing.
I remember my dad fighting to put this together on Christmas Eve. So I didn't say this earlier. We always opened presents on Christmas Eve because my parents did not want to wake up on Christmas Day to open presents.
I feel that now.
Yeah. So we always did everything on Christmas Eve. Like my mom would take us out to look at Christmas lights, and wouldn't you know it, we always miss Santa. Every single time.
He's sneaky.
Every time. So this was delivered, and my dad had to put it together. Santa's elves weren't nice enough to do it for him. And I'm pretty sure it was this exact bike, because I remember the blue handlebars. I remember the black to gray gradient. I remember the weird padded handlebar or cover with the 3 villains on it. And this bike was sweet. The problem is I became a teenager, and I still had this bike. Like, I was way too big for it.
You gotta hang on to those things.
Way too big for it. But, to be the coolest kid, I, ghost rid it right off a giant hill. And it just flew down. And I think at that point I pulled all the Batman stickers off of it and everything. And my mom was very disappointed in me.
Oh, man.
Because she's like, somebody could have used that. Like, it's been in our garage for over a decade. Nobody was using it. But
sometimes we make rash decisions as teens.
Right. And, part of me kind of wishes I still had it around, though, just because of that connection to it.
Yeah.
But here I am on YouTube talking about nostalgic things anyway. So, yeah.
I don't know if you'd be riding it right now if you still had it.
I don't think so. But, it was cool. Black, gray, the yellow pedals, the blue handlebars. It was very Batman. It was specifically the Batmobile.
Oh, absolutely. I can tell with the red rims.
Yeah. Yeah, it was very kind of Barris that way from the 66. Yeah. Now, your last gift that you wanted to share, you actually have with you.
Yes, so.
So let's go ahead and bring you up full.
All right. So let me give you some backstory. I am a little bit of a nerd, or kids thought I was weird, because at a very young age, I became very interested in the assassination of John F. Kennedy. Like, probably younger than most kids. And maybe it's because I was a child of the generation of people who vividly remember where they were when it happened. And so my parents and my grandparents would often talk about, coming home from school or being sent home from school or seeing it on the TV while they were at home. And so it's something that I'd always been interested in. I can tell you, in 2008, I was at a conference with a colleague in Dallas, and we had an extra day before our flight, flew back up north, and we went to Dealey Plaza and toured the whole area and the 6th floor of the School Book Depository, which is now a museum. And I think by maybe 15 minutes in, she was pretty sick of me because I was like, actually this. Or it's kind of like when you watch an old movie, I was basically saying the words along with them as they took us on the tour because I'd been obsessed with it. But, so as a very young teenager, my grandmother got me this book to kind of feed into my obsession. And if you can't read that, that is John F. Kennedy's signature on the cover, because it is probably his most famous book that he's written several books, or wrote several books, but this is probably his most famous one, Profiles in Courage. So this is a prized possession because I thought it was really cool that I was probably more into, well, I had quite a few Kennedy books, but it was kind of that time where you'd be getting kind of that young adult literature as a young teen. And my grandma got me a book written by the president who I was at that time obsessed with. And so I've always kept this on my bookshelf. It's among the first books I unpack anytime I've moved. Really cool thing to have, really cool thing to get from my grandmother.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and it's that nice personal touch, right?
Yeah,
yeah. It's important to you. Where, like, the other kids may not be jealous of that gift, it meant so much specifically to you.
Definitely, yeah. Here I am, 30-some years later, carrying this book around.
It's true. You had it in your desk drawer, so you were ready for it. You were ready to go.
Yes. Well, I actually pulled it off the bookshelf at home before we came in, but I didn't let you see what it was till we got here. So.
Okay, so you kept it secret.
Yes.
Well, for my last gift that I wanted to share, it's actually one of the first gifts you gave me for Christmas, which was the Muppet Whatnot. And for a couple of reasons. One, I always wanted a Whatnot. I think my mother tried to buy me one several times, and I'm like, no, they cost too much. But then you surprised me. But also, one of the most terrifying moments of my life this Christmas.
Yeah, I'm pretty proud of this.
So we're at your mother's house.
We had maybe been dating a year.
Right, and you give me one present to open first. I open it, and it was a box. It was a cereal box specifically for Crunch Berries. And I was like, cereal, okay, that's cool. I'll eat cereal. Like, what a strange...
Favorite snack.
Yeah, what a strange gift. And you're like, no. Open it. And you had a toddler's Atari t-shirt in it. And it was at that moment I thought that maybe, possibly, there was a little one on the way. And I thought, well, this is going to be awkward when I run from you in front of your mother and escape responsibility like a true adult man should.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
But then you had me open this, and thankfully it was a Muppet.
Well, everybody wants a Muppet, but nobody wants a naked Muppet, right?
Right. So he's in rough shape. I need to kind of like glue him back together, but he is actually on my desk at home.
I saw him the other day as I walked through there.
So
yes.
He is still around.
What's his name?
Jeffrey.
Jeffrey, yes. I actually have a picture. If I had known, I would have popped it up before this. Maybe we can put it in at the credits. Of you and Jeffrey right after you opened it, and probably your heart rate finally came back down a little bit after opening your tiny Atari shirt.
Yeah, that was horrific.
Man, I'll never top that then.
No. You won that Christmas.
Yes.
And I have been trying to beat you ever since.
It's not a competition.
Yes, it is. It is absolutely a competition.
Well, we'll see. Give us a few days. We'll see who wins this year.
Nobody. I actually, I went soft this year.
Yeah,
I think we promised that we'd try to go light on presents this year.
We did, yeah.
So we'll see if we kept our promise.
You know what? Going light, you can still have something that you treasure forever.
Sure. But thank you so much for coming up with this idea.
Absolutely.
Helping me put this video together. And thank you anybody who took the time to watch this video. I know I appreciate the viewers that stop by and comment and do
I'm
all those
excited
things.
to see what other people put in the comments as some of their favorite gifts.
Absolutely. If you already forgot, please comment your favorite holiday gifts you've received. You know, what's the thing that you got that you just never thought you wanted?
Like a Muppet?
Like a Muppet. Like a book written by an assassinated president.
Yes.
But this holiday season, please remember to let yourselves shine. Have a wonderful holiday. Thank you again. This, somehow, is shiny plastic, people. I'm looking for the button. I'm vamping. I found it.